Hey, good afternoon or good evening or potentially good morning, depending on where you are in the country and in the world. My name is David. I'm a district strategy consultant here with Nearpod, and I am excited to be talking about test prep, which is kind of a strange thing to say. Uh, this is a webinar on how you can use Nearpod to really level up your test prep practices as an administrator. And I was a school principal for 10 years. I worked in the primary and secondary levels. And test prep season was always one of those kind of just crazy times, as we all know. And so really excited to get to facilitate this webinar, show you some things that you can do as an admin to help out your teachers, help out your students. We have a lot of folks signed up for this webinar today. And so I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to get logged in. But what I'd love for you to do is you can join the Nearpod in one of two ways here. You can open up a new tab in your browser, go to join.nearpod.com, and enter in that code you see on the screen in front of you, KNL5H. KNL5H is the code. Or one of my wonderful colleagues here is going to be posting a link into the GoToWebinar chat, and you can click on that link and you can go and join my Nearpod presentation that way as well. Doesn't matter how you join, you're just going to want to join. It's going to be interactive. I'm going to show you a few things, and then you're going to get an opportunity to kind of play around with a few things as well. But go ahead and join. Once you join the Nearpod presentation, it's going to drop you into a matching pairs activity. And this is a way for me to kind of introduce myself rather than talk about who I am in the background there. So also it provides you an opportunity to do something while we are waiting for other folks to join. So, hey, consider it bell work. So we're going to get started here in a couple of minutes, but play around with that matching pairs activity. All right, and that link just got posted in the GoToWebinar chat here. So if you want to click on that link, you can join that way. And again, if you just joined us, I see our numbers keep going up here. Welcome. My name is David. I'm a district strategy consultant here with Nearpod, and we're going to be talking about test prep. We know it's a process, not an event. It's not something that just happens, during a week or 2 weeks. This is kind of a ongoing journey for all of us here. And so as administrators, as principals, assistant principals, deans, maybe teacher leads, instructional coaches, maybe we have some superintendents or assistant superintendents or directors in the group here. What can we do to support our teachers during this time? That's what we're going to talk about today in using Nearpod to do that. So again, join the Nearpod presentation. Two ways you can do it. Open up a new tab in your browser, go to join.nearpod.com and enter in that code KNL5H, or click on that link that is in the chat box. We do have a few wonderful folks standing by here. So if you have questions throughout our presentation, please, let's use that Q&A. And you can get your questions answered here as we go along here. And I do have both Taylor and Bridget standing by answering your questions as they come up. I'm seeing some things pop in there already. Yes, these are some insane matches. Hey, the life of a school principal is not as boring as everyone thinks it is. If we have time at the end, maybe I'll get into my Metallica story. All right, here, I'm going to give it one more minute and we're going to get started here. Again, click on that link in the chat or open up a new tab in your browser, go to join.nearpod.com, enter in that code KNL5H, KNL5H. Questions, put them in the Q&A. We're going to use the chat feature if, hey, you've got some ideas that you want to share with everybody else, put them in the chat. That would be awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hide your names here. It's just because I'm sharing my screen and I appreciate some privacy here. So I'm going to be kind of blacking out your names here so you don't have to worry about any privacy issues or anything like that here. If you are new to Nearpod, and there always are some folks that are new to Nearpod in these sessions here, the first thing that I want you to see is that if I click on my teacher view, I can see how many matches everyone made, how many tries it took them. The names are blanked out here. Again, I'm doing that on purpose. But again, I can see data come back in real time. As a teacher, this is so important that it is that real-time feedback so I can change around my instruction in the moment and provide my students with a variety of little mini assessments that don't feel like assessments, that I can gauge their level of understanding of the topic here. So I always like to highlight that here. But thank you for playing my matching pairs activity. But let's talk about test prep with Nearpod. It's a process, not an event here. This is something that we get into for months, if not the entire year. And if you're like me, testing season was kind of like a double-edged sword. I understood the importance of it from just a systems perspective. My evaluation as an administrator was tied to my school's results, for better or for worse. And then I also understand the other side of it, where it's one test at the end of the day. And so how do we kind of live within the system that maybe we don't always necessarily agree with, but ensure that our students are the best prepared for it, and then also just have them prepared for just learning in general. How do we continue that process in an ongoing fashion here? Again, my name is David Franklin. I'm a district strategy consultant here with Nearpod. If you are at a school in kind of the western half of the United States here, there's a good chance that I have worked with you. So I cover Northern California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Alaska, Hawaii, and I also do a bunch of international as well here. So if I look familiar or my name's familiar and you live in one of those areas, hey, chances are I facilitated some of your professional development. There's my Twitter handle at SF Principal. If you would like to tweet out things that you're learning here about Nearpod, please do. And it's always nice to see folks signing on to follow me. I'll follow you back. We can learn together. At SF Principal is my handle. Before we get into like the meat and potatoes here, let's go ahead and connect your notes. That way you're going to get a copy of all the slides I'm showing you, all the resources, everything. Up in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you should have a little notepad. When you click on that, you're going to have a window pop out from the right-hand side of your screen. It's going to ask you to choose a method to save your notes: email, Google Drive, or OneDrive. Go ahead and select the option that makes the most sense for you. And once you connect your notes, you're going to have like an empty text box pop up. And you can type notes in there if you want to. Those notes will all transfer over as well. So if you're going to save to your Google Drive, you're going to get a Google Doc with all the slides I'm showing you and any notes you type in as well. Now, you don't have to type in notes to get all the slides and all the resources. If you want to click on that little notepad a bit again after you connect your notes, it's going to push it back to the right-hand side, make the screen nice and big again. Give everyone a second to do that. And again, if you have any questions, if something's not working for you, we have the Q&A here in GoToWebinar. I've got Tracy and Bridget that are standing by that can help and support you along the way. If you want to share out something that's been working for you with Nearpod and test prep, or just Nearpod in general, let's go ahead and use the chat feature. All right. First thing we're gonna do is a collab report. So where are you joining us from today here? And do me a favor, indicate if you're elementary, middle, or high school, if you're administrator, if you're a teacher, where are you joining us from today here? Go ahead and share your thoughts in this text box down here at the bottom. And I'm gonna type in, I'm coming in from Idaho. And I'm from Nearpod. All right. Love the collaborate board. It allows for all of our students to respond without feeling like getting nervous that they have to raise their hands all the time. Again, thinking about test prep and really understanding from the teacher's perspective, do my students understand what's going on? Usually we call out, you might get 5 or 6 kids in your class that raise their hand. You might call on 1 or 2, but what about the other 28? This is why I love the collaborative board. And you can have your names turned off here. All right, see a bunch of Colorado, Texas, Washington State, Lancaster, Las Vegas. I've done a decent amount of work for Clark County, so welcome. I see another Idaho. Awesome. I'm kind of in the Boise area. Always like to see that. All right. I see Maine. I might be in Maine this summer. All right. Yonkers, South Africa. Cool. Welcome. Sarajevo. All right. Philippines, California, Macedonia. Lots of Texas, Puerto Rico. Sunny San Diego. I lived in San Diego for 10 years. All right. Texas. Very cool. Yonkers. Welcome, New York. Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Welcome. Lots of Texas. I also see some folks that are working remotely, which is great as well. And you can, some of you have already figured this out, you can comment on other people's posts. So if someone posts something like, hey, I grew up in Lancaster. I did not, but I'm just using this example. I grew up in LA though, not too far from Lancaster. All right, very cool. Thank you for sharing out. I've got some program managers here. Galveston, Texas. When my family came to the United States, well, 100 years ago, or actually, well, 120 years ago now, a bunch of them landed in Galveston, Texas. Macedonia, very cool. All righty. Thank you for sharing. All right, Sacramento, St. Louis, Alabama, Roseville. All right, a couple folks from the Sacramento area. All right, let's keep going here. Thank you for sharing out here. So here's our learning objectives for today. We are going to learn, where are these pre-made standards aligned lessons in our Nearpod library here? How do we address both the content that's going to be on these assessments and then also technology comfort? I found out the hard way that my 3rd graders that were doing our state assessment in California, they knew the content, struggled with using the technology and didn't perform as well as the content, as well as they knew the content because they couldn't manipulate the technology. So we're going to address that today as well here. And how, design for lesson embedded test prep. How do we utilize Nearpod to get students to practice that technology and also practice, understanding that content knowledge? Okay. Think about this. Share an image that personifies the testing season here. What I want you to do is go down to this bottom text box. All the way on the right-hand side, you're going to click on that button that looks like a mountain and a sun. And you can pull up an image from Google or, hey, an image from your shared drive or computer here. I'm going to do it on my end. And I don't like that one. I'm going to do a different one. There we go. It's one of these like cathartic moments for all of us here. Yeah. No one, I don't see anyone that's like, there's no one's putting an image up here that's like super excited about it. Lots of stress, lots of like craziness and like pulling your hair out, banging your, this is a great one, banging your head against the wall. Oh, this is good stuff here, good stuff. if you were thinking that like, is it just me? I'm hoping now this is showing you it's not. It is literally everybody. No one's like, I'm super pumped about this. We might do that on like when we're talking to our teachers or talking to our students. I remember doing this. I remember being like super excited and yeah, we're gonna nail this and I can't wait and blah blah blah. And like in the back, I'm just like, oh my goodness. So yeah, like the dinosaurs eating my head. Yeah. And I go back to like when it was all like the kids did it in the books. And so like I had to count out all the books and put the stickers on the books and like, there's always one that went missing. You did it back in the day, there's that one test that went missing and you cannot have a missing test. Like that's terrible for you personally and professionally. Now it's with the computers, like, are they gonna work? Are we gonna have a glitch? Is a kid gonna like X out of it? Yep. All right. Okay, very cool. Thank you for sharing. Hope you feel better now. That was like a little therapy session here. All right. So when we talk about test prep, we talk about how we want to get our students ready here. There's some things that we kind of, every school educator talks about here. So this is a drag and drop. And so, positive effects on assessment results, no effect could go either way or negative. And what I want you to do is I want you to drag these over and put them in the column that you think makes the most sense here. And then we're going to have a chat about them. Not necessarily right or wrong answers, somewhat, but talking points, talking points. All right. So I'm seeing, yeah, targeted instruction. Yeah. So that's where those standard aligned lessons here within Nearpod. So if you're looking at your power standards or your essential standards, the biggest bang for your buck as far as test prep goes, and also as far as like student knowledge and understanding, that target instruction key. And of course, those engaging lessons. You can have all the targeted instruction you want to, but if you're not an engaging teacher, if you're not providing students ways to manipulate the content around and use different modalities and have it, be hands-on and utilize video and audio and manipulatives, it's gonna fall flat, right? All right. So I'm seeing a trend here off of your results with the drill and kill not working so much. And I couldn't agree more. I've seen many schools make that mistake of let's do test prep and let's just practice, 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 practice. That doesn't work. That just overwhelms kids, it overwhelms teachers, and doesn't serve anyone a whole lot of good. All right. Very good here. Things that could go either way, hoping for the best. Nothing wrong with hoping for the best. Is it going to do any good? Hey, stranger things have happened, but we need to prepare our students the best way possible, right? All right. Drill and kill. I've seen a couple people put drill and kill could go either way. I guess it would depend on how it's being utilized. The killing, not so much. The drilling, how it's utilized, right? All right, very good, very good. Thank you for kind of getting that in there. I'm going to keep us going. Oh, if you connected your notes, which I hope you did, if you submit your work samples, you're going to get a copy of those work samples as well. So if you haven't hit that submit button, which I believe is in the bottom, I don't have that button on my screen. probably in the bottom right-hand corner is my guess there. It's that blue button. Hit that submit button. And that way, when you connect your notes, it'll transfer over as well. All right, very cool. I'm going to keep us going. Thanks for sharing. I realize your names keep popping up here, and I'm just going to knock them out again. There we go. Okay, let's keep going here. So when you Google test prep, these are things that come up. And here's some like ways that we can best help our students here. Have a positive attitude. A prep pep rally. Get a good night's sleep, eat a good breakfast, practice tests, drill exercises. These are things that I know, again, going back to my days as a principal, I used to say and do these things. I had a pep rally. Before testing time, I got every kid in the cafeteria and we did a rah, rah, rah. We did that. I would get on the loudspeaker at the end of every day during testing season and say, please get a good night's sleep, go to bed early, eat a good breakfast. I would have phone calls that were going out to families, emails. We did all those things, okay? But at the end of the day here, we have only so much control. If you've used the locus of control notion before, this should look familiar to you here. So here on the left-hand side, it's another drag and drop here. What can we control and what can't we control? Now, I would say all the time, you all need to eat breakfast or come to school and eat breakfast. We would open up early. I would stand literally at the gate as kids came in, and I would funnel them into the cafeteria so they could a second breakfast if that's what they wanted, or just a first breakfast. We were universal. I did my best I could. I couldn't control it. I also couldn't control them getting to bed early. Truth time, I've got two kids. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old. They're both in middle school. During testing season last year, both my kids do sports, and they got home almost every night during testing season. They got home late from practices. It's just how it works. Now, what I could control, for the most part, targeted teacher instruction. And I worked with that with my teachers here. Now, I did the whole hand washing thing and told kids, wash your hands. Maybe don't go over to your friend's house who's got a little bit of a cold, but I couldn't control that. I could, however, control a positive testing culture. And now I'm going to put that one in the middle, technology that works. We've all been there where we're testing everything the day before and everything works, and then kids go in there and test, and then like a couple of them aren't working. You can control that by the best you can by doing all the work ahead of time. At the end of the day, if something goes down here. But as you move those things around, I want you to think about what you can control, what you can't control. And as an administrator or a coach or a teacher, what do you need to spend your time on? Our days are busy, regardless of what time of year it is. What do we need to spend our time on? Do I need to spend it reminding kids to eat breakfast and getting to bed early? It's out of my control. What can I control? I want to control the instruction that's going on. Control is the wrong word for that. I want to ensure that my students are all getting quality targeted teacher instruction. And I want to support my teachers in helping them navigate a platform like Nearpod on what lessons and what standards they should be covering. And I also want to maintain that positive testing culture, ensuring that my students understand the technology that they're going to be using here. So I can control skill proficiency and tech proficiency. Those are the things I can control, and that's what I want to spend my time on. Let's talk about skill proficiency. So here in Nearpod, we have over 10,000 standard aligned lessons. These are ready to go. They are created by some of the most well-known and respected publishers and curriculum designers in the world. They have a variety of activities for practice, review, and enrichment. Students can actually participate in their learning. It's not a sit and get, it's an active participation type lesson. And there can be these formative assessments. We've actually done a couple with the drag and drops and the collab reports. Insert these formative assessments. So as a teacher, I can say, yeah, you know what? They're catching on to this. I've got 4 or 5 data points from this one lesson alone that says, yeah, they're catching it. So I can insert those on a daily basis here. So what we can do in looking at our lesson library here is find the resource we're looking for. Now, my teachers can search by standard, content, grade, keyword, new and timely lessons, content type, and publisher. Now, the one thing I can do as a school administrator, though, is help to curate a school or district library. My teachers worked a crazy amount of hours and just time in general teaching. And I did not want them during like this kind of test prep season, or just as we started to talk about test prep, which is right around this time of year every year, I didn't want them to have to do more. Their plates were already full. I needed to help and assist them because that was a part of my role as their principal, is to support them. So I would look at the data and I would create these kind of libraries of lessons for my teachers. Now, I didn't use Nearpod to do that because Nearpod hadn't been created yet. But I'm going to show you how to do this. This would have saved me hours, by the way, hours a day. So I can create these lessons where teachers just have to go into that school library, maybe click on their grade level or click on the subject that they teach. Again, if you're elementary or secondary, and find lessons that are targeted and vetted already by, say, myself, an instructional coach. The first thing that you're going to want to do is make sure that you have access as an administrator here. And if you have that Manage Nearpod button, when you log in, it's going to be on that left-hand side, that main navigation toolbar. If you don't have a button that says Manage Nearpod, it means you don't have the correct access. If you're a teacher who's going to be in a position where you're going to be helping to create these libraries, talk to your administrator or your IT manager. If you're an administrator, you could talk to your customer service manager, or you can put that Q&A here, and Taylor and Bridget will kind of help funnel your questions and everything to the right place here. You might want to include your name and the district you work in, though, if that's an issue. But that's kind of point number one, is I want to make sure you all have that Manage Nearpod button. Now you can choose school or district library. So if you are a district administrator, a superintendent, assistant sup, a director, and you want to curate multiple libraries for different schools, that could be a district library, because schools and teachers and different people are going to be accessed from different schools can access that library. A school library is just for the folks at the school. So you would click probably on school library. Now you'll have a choice here. Do you want teachers to add lessons, or do you want to have it just administrators and coaches? So you can, on the back end, you can decide who has access, or you can say any teacher can add to that lesson library. Turn that on or off if you want to here. And then, as you're searching through the library, you find a lesson that you want to upload into the lesson library. Instead of clicking Add to My Library, you'll click on School or District Library. That's going to be down there. And it will add it into that proper library. Oh, let me go back here. Let me go into my Nearpod account. So I'm going to share my screen here for a minute. There we go. Realize that I started. There we go. Was kind of in the wrong tab there, but that's fine. Okay, so here's my school library here. Here's my Manage Nearpod button, by the way. And I got my school, my district library. So let's go into the Nearpod library here. And let's say, based off of the data that I'm receiving from my teachers, and I'll go into filter by standards. That's what I like to do. Standard, or I can get a little bit more granular with the state here. So I got my Common Core, I got my NGSS, and I got my National Social Studies Standards. Or if you are international, I would stick to Common Core. So I know we have some folks that are international, stick in Common Core. Puerto Rico, I would also stick with Common Core as well. I'll click on Common Core. Now I'm gonna choose my subject. Let's say I'm really honing in on math. Click on math. Now I'm gonna select my grade level. So let's go 3rd grade. Now it's gonna start to just populate lessons here. Lessons, activities, videos up here at the top. If I want full lessons, I can click on lesson. Just activities, like let's say I want to have just as my kids come in the morning or come in from after lunch or the start of the period, I just want a quick activity for them to do. There you go. I'll do lesson though. Maybe I want something a little bit more substantial, but it's already populating, okay? But now I'm gonna go over here and click on strand. And I'm gonna get super granular because the results that are coming back from maybe my internal assessments, my common formative assessments, or just my Nearpod assessments, I'll be able to drill down and say, you know what, my students are really having trouble with solving problems involving multiplication division. Okay, just kind of in general. So I'm gonna click on that one. And now I've got lessons that are populating up here. And there are tons. Now, some might say optimize for student paced. It's totally fine here, but here we go. Let's do finding unknown numbers in word problems here. So if there's a lesson that I like, I can click on preview. And I can preview this lesson here. I used to do this, but I would just find resources somewhere else. It was very time consuming. But this lesson bank here in Nearpod, again, 10,000 standards-based lessons that are ready to go, turnkey, engaging, exciting, and fun and interactive for students, game changer. So let's say as I'm previewing through this, I like this, I'm good. Normally, I would click on add to my lessons, it populates in my Nearpod library. But I am going to just click on school library. My lesson was added to the school library. Would you like to manage or view the school library now? I'll view it. There it is. Now I can have folders in here, again, grade level, department, whatever I like. Now, funny thing here with my view here, if you're looking at it, I have access to add, I don't have access to create folders. This is an internal Nearpod library that we use here. So as a teacher, if I find something, I can upload, but you can also notice I can't delete either. Only folks with that highest level access can delete and create folders and move things around. Just less cooks in the kitchen sometimes. Someone clicks on like the wrong button and deletes something. But if I know that like, hey, my entire 3rd grade needs help with this, I can, as an administrator, find those lessons, put in a 3rd grade math folder and say, hey, let's all do this lesson. I'm gonna keep populating it in. Right. So that's how you can support your teachers using that school library. Now, teachers, as we have seen already in this presentation, and then I've been mentioning it before, teachers can monitor progress daily in the moment. Again, inserting those formative assessments that are in there, and then altering instruction as they need to. But as an administrator, I'm not necessarily going to see it that granular, especially if I've got 50, 60 classrooms on campus here. I'm not going to see all those assessments coming in and see those results, nor is that going to be beneficial to me. That's a lot of information. What I really, though, might want to see, though, is those post-session reports come in. And my teachers can share these reports with me. I can't necessarily go in and extract them myself, but they can be shared with me. So after a lesson has concluded, teachers can go in and access these post-session reports by clicking on that reports button on the left-hand side of the main navigation toolbar. Select the lesson that they want to review. It starts with the most recent lesson on top, all the way down. Click on the report and it'll let teachers know if it's student-paced or live participation. Click on that lesson and they're going to see a report summary. This is kind of like that bird's eye view. And it's more participation than anything else. Now, as an administrator, I knew my kids at my school really well. And so when I looked at data like this, again, Nearpod didn't exist, but I looked at data like this all the time, I honed in on certain kids. And these were kids who I was keeping track of. And I could see here participation of all the different little formative assessments that are in this Nearpod lesson. And again, here in one lesson, I got like eight or nine different mini assessments here. Go a little deeper here. I can sort by students if I want to. If I click on activity, it's going to show me participation rates. And then digging a little deeper, I can see overall class averages, answers to specific questions, and then my individual student responses. So as an administrator, again, I can get that kind of bird's eye view, but then get the individual student responses as well. Again, I was looking for specific students. I can view their work samples, review, again, every assessment that's in there, including time to climb. I can even go to individual student reports. So again, if I want to hone in on those at-risk students or students that I knew were just underperforming or disengaged, those are the students I wanted to, as an administrator, I kept track of, see how they're doing. Even do a little bit of an error analysis with how deep I can get into these assessments. Now that can be shared with me. Let me change my screen here for a second. If I go into reports here on my screen, let me show you how teachers can share that with you, because you can't go in and just grab it. But what I had teachers do, again, on a different platform, is I had them email me their results. And some things that we did do, I could go and get access to it. Let's go to, just gonna grab this one here. So if I want my teachers to send me this information, I just go up, teacher can go up here, download, entire lesson report or student reports. Let's say, you know what, I just want Cassandra's. Boom, PDF, email it to me. I can also click on just email the entire lesson report. It's PDF. So that's how you can get that information as an administrator. So that's kind of the skills portion of it. Again, getting really targeted with our lessons, making sure they're interactive, engaging, and fun, which all Nearpod lessons are. And then also keeping track of that assessment data as well. And then curating that school library. That's the skill proficiency. Now let's talk about the tech proficiency. Here are 5 things: keyboarding skills, the trackpad or mouse skills, multi-step problems with a scroll, working with a timer, and just digital tools on toolbar. These are things that all of our students need to know. And a lot of students come into these assessments not having full proficiency of all those skills. Again, this is where Nearpod comes into play without really having to do anything extra, because these proficiency skills are embedded into our Nearpod lessons. So I have, here we go. I have a slide here. And if you go down to the bottom row, if you click on these lessons here, these are, it's going to launch a student-paced lesson here. And you can see like, what, you know, how do we work with the keyboarding multi-part scroll here? Well, here, I'll click on that one. This drove me nuts, by the way, when I watched my students do this, because I was, of course, the testing coordinator. And when you're in that room with the kids and they're taking the assessment, we all know you can't say anything. You can answer a question as far as like, this button's not working, but you can't help them. And I saw this all the time. Here's an open-ended question. So read the passage, use the evidence from the passage to support your answer to the questions below. The passage over here on the right-hand side. And then part 2, answer each question in complete sentences. Okay, explain what opportunity cost means when referring to money. I'm willing to bet that if asked a question like this, you're going to have a handful of students that don't scroll down. Even though it says answer each question, it looks like this. And they answer question 1, but not question 2. And as an educator, you're standing behind students. You're watching them do this. I used to do this. Watch them do it and then click that submit button, and you just want to scream, but you can't. I chalked it back up to we didn't practice enough with our students to know that they can scroll down. It's something as simple like that that is frustrating, because chances are they know the answer to question 2, but they got a lower score because they didn't even know it was there. That's just frustrating. Now we can do the same with the drag and drop, the draw it, the fill in the blank, and the matching pairs as well. The drag and drop practices the mouse skills. So we are dragging little text boxes over. Again, think about your younger students where not something that maybe they do all the time. The draw it with the digital toolbar and respond and explain. I'm gonna click on that one. So solve the equations, show the steps you use to solve the equation. So again, I need to solve it first. So I would add in my numbers here and do the equation. But then I need to also know that I got to put in a text box. Maybe that's how I'm going to show the steps. Maybe I want to talk about how I solved it. Or I want to get super granular and just go literally step by step. So I can go like, very hard on a trackpad. Right? And I'm going to go even more. Now, again, I can do this in text box if I want to, but so on and so forth. Oops. Fill in the blank activities and also timers as well. So here in several of our different activities here, this one has to do with a matching, this one's on a matching pairs. Match a group of multiplication facts to its product. I can set timers. Also, if you haven't used matching pairs before, I'm just gonna click on random here. I can see that X, so immediately as a student, I know that I'm getting it wrong. Right? And then I know that I got it right. That immediate feedback is super important. Right. Nope, keep doing that. So what I'd love for you to do here, and we're gonna kind of get away from this, I'm gonna revision this. What I'd love for you to do is play around with the Nearpod library. Find some lessons, add them to your school library here, maybe create a folder or 2 if you'd like to, or if you want to, you can go back and play around with these as well. And if you connected your notes rather, you're getting a copy of all this. So if you want to share this with your teachers or students or whatever, you're going to get a copy of all this, and you can launch these later on, these little mini practice lessons. If you have questions, go ahead, put it in the Q&A. But let's take about 5 minutes, play around with Nearpod. I'll leave this screen up here. Get into that lesson library, see what we have to offer, start creating your school library. And then while you're doing that, I'm going to do what I said I wasn't going to do, and I'm actually looking into your questions. And I see one here. Would it be possible to see where the Spanish materials can be found? So we are adding a ton of Spanish resources, and I'll be broad on this one. We have a couple of different things you might be interested in. One thing that I want to mention here, if you're looking at my screen under Nearpod programs, I have something called English Learners. Now this is an add-on program. It doesn't come with the Nearpod package. This is an add-on here. This is great for your English language learners. It does have a variety of materials, obviously for EL students, from newcomer all the way to becoming proficient. But if you go up here to search by standard or topic or standard here, you can type in, I was super broad and I typed in Spanish. And some lessons do start to come up here. There we are. They're adding a ton. This has been going on for the last about 6 months to a year, a ton of Spanish language lessons. They're right there. Okay, I see one on here. Oh, one thing to keep in mind, I always love showing this. I got a question on Immersive Reader, and I love showing the Immersive Reader here. Let me go back into, I'm gonna move away from this slide for a second. So the question is, I have Immersive Reader built in here, but it's not showing up on my slides, but it's showing up in the activities. If you create slides within Nearpod, it's gonna show up. Now this presentation was actually created in Google Slides. So this isn't text, it's actually like a screenshot or a picture, so you're not gonna see it. But the activities I added in Nearpod. Let me go back here to like this drag and drop. It's gonna be right there. Now, if you create a text slide within Nearpod, it'll be there. And again, that immersive reader will read text back. It does text to speech. There's no text on the slide, but it won't read the answer choices, but the directions, and I didn't include directions. But it'll translate text. It's not going to do it because there's no text on the slide. Let me see what I can do here and show you this. There we go. You know what? This wasn't created in there as well. I don't have an example to show you because I just realized that I did not create this in Nearpod either. But again, if you create it within Nearpod, it'll show up. It'll translate, it reads it text to speech. It's one of my favorite tools. Oh, okay, yeah. So if you are, I see an answer here. If you use Bridges, we have a nice integration with Bridges for elementary math. I actually brought Bridges to my school, going back a lot of years here. And then we also have a lot of HMH integrations as well. So you can go up and you can see publishers. If I go into my Nearpod account, if you go into your school, if you go into the Nearpod library, you go to publishers. And these are all the publishers that we work with. It's a lot. So all those integrations will be there. All right. Hopefully you're playing around. Again, if you're running into some roadblocks, let us know in that Q&A. And then we're going to wrap it up in a minute. Hopefully you're getting some ideas. Hopefully you're starting to formulate, okay, how am I going to support my teachers, my students in both skills and technology proficiency? Telling kids to eat breakfast is good. This is going to be better. All right. I'm going to add up an activity here, and I'm going to go to add activity because I didn't insert this one when I was creating the presentation here. So what I would like for you to answer is, what is your takeaway from today, from the webinar today? And I'm going to share this out with all of you, and just kind of share out what's maybe one thing you're going to try, one thing you hadn't thought of. If you do have a question, you can put it in there as well. But what's one takeaway from today? I seem to be spinning there, which is never fun. I'm just going to refresh here. There we go. What's your takeaway? All right. Got some folks coming in here. So going to look for standard specific content for the US history high school test. Yes, tons of stuff in there for high school, by the way. Also great AP, like, test prep and whatnot. Again, that could be all built in. Students need to practice for sure. If the first time kids are going in there manipulating some of these tools when they're actually taking a test like this, they're going to struggle with that technology proficiency, right? The need for a distributed curated library of resources that are standard, they're standard resource aligned for sure, yeah. So many resources that can help students in preparing for testing. Love the connection to using Nearpod from our students with digital test features. It's something that a lot of folks don't think about, but a lot of the lessons, like design of lessons, what students are doing was made on purpose to mirror digital test features. Because we noticed that there was that gap in understanding of where, again, kids knew the content knowledge, didn't have the skill, the technology skills. Lots of standard line lessons for sure. The importance of practice, practice, practice. Yeah. Organizing Nearpod. I need to organize my Nearpod, and I'm in Nearpod like all day long. Tons of stuff in there. All right. I need to integrate more Nearpod activities into my daily class routine. I am going to look for more standard related content. Here's what I like to say about that too, is that, and I work for Nearpod. I work with schools and districts all day long here. I never advocate for using Nearpod all day long. Of course not. Anybody who works for an ed tech company that tells you to do that has never been a classroom teacher. I have. Use it when it's going to be the most impactful. You don't want to sit kids in front of a computer screen all day long. We know that doesn't work here. But as you fold in these activities, and you could have it as a bell ringer, you could have it as something, again, strategically placed while you're working, doing direct instruction with a small group of struggling students, while your other students are working on an asynchronous Nearpod lesson, so that they're not just sitting there doing silent reading. I like learning which activity types match with specific text proficiencies. Yep. Publisher tab, that Nearpod is expanding the Spanish content to support teachers in Spanish, not world languages. So There is, we're constantly adding, but tons of Spanish stuff right now. There are some French lessons that are on there that I have seen. All right, I'll be taking this information back to my instructional team, drilling into our data and beginning to build a solid school library. Awesome, awesome. I love to see that. Love to see that. All right, great ability to continue test prep. All right. Good stuff, good stuff. All right, well, thank you for that feedback. Thank you for kind of sharing out. I'm gonna close down that activity and give you some final thoughts here before we wrap it up for today. So putting it all together, use or modify lessons to really support student skill proficiency. Be very, very targeted. Use those power standards or those essential standards and really hone in on what the data is telling you that students need more support on. But at the same time, when you're doing that, know that you're also, when the students are using those embedded Nearpod activities, that they are truly supporting their own tech proficiency so that that is not an issue when it comes to sitting down and taking those state tests. If you need any sort of resources at all, you can access that Teacher Resources Hub. And you can do that quite simply, just going down here, if you're looking at my screen now, in your Nearpod home screen, all the way down in this main navigation toolbar under Resources, it's the last thing down there. You click on Teacher Resources, you have access to this all day, every day. So if you are, if I scroll down, I can get a lot of information here. If you're thinking like, oh, gosh, I don't remember that school library, how do I do that? Let's type in school library. Manage to share school library as a school administrator. There you go. How to find lessons in your school or district library. So all that is right there. So don't forget that you have access to this. Oops, there we go, 24/7. But thanks so much. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last hour or so. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope that you got a lot out of this. Again, my name is David. I'm a district strategy consultant here with Nearpod at SF Principles, my Twitter handle. I do tweet out tips and tricks about Nearpod all the time. So if you would like to follow me there, I'll follow you back. You'll get all sorts of tips and tricks about Nearpod here. But thank you so much to Bridget and Tracy.
David, I'm going to pop on real fast. I just want to say thanks for everyone for attending. There were some great questions in the chat, and I wanted to let you know you'll receive this in the follow-up email, but we are also offering a teacher training on this, a little bit of the same things geared towards the teacher. So really, it's very hands-on, showing your teachers how they can use Nearpod for test prep, how they can utilize it with their students in their everyday classroom to really focusing on those learning gaps and hone in on those standard deficiencies, as well as practice some of the technology they're going to experience on the test itself, the drag and drops, the reference materials, and the reference media. So I would encourage you to pass that information along to your teachers. There'll be a registration link in the follow-up email. We'll send that your way. It's, like I said, a very interactive, hands-on training for your teachers. They will learn how to build, learn how to do, all centered around test prep and how they can start implementing this now and really prepare their students for success. That's all
Awesome.
I want to say.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. I saw your message there and I didn't, you beat me to it. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for, again, attending. Reach out if there's anything that we can do for you. And I'll end by saying thank you for all that you have done over the last several years and continue to do through all the craziness with the pandemic and everything that's happening in the world. The fact that you are working directly with our students, my two kids being two of them, we all really appreciate it. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to come hang out with us here at Nearpod for the past hour. So take care, have a wonderful rest of your day, and hope to see you again at another Nearpod training session sometime in the future. Thanks, everyone.